this video, I will give you some basic information which should help you more consciously decide which camera would be best for you. Hi, I'm Sebastian Jezierski. My adventure with photography started almost 30 years ago. Half of that time I'm working as a professional photographer. So I got some experience which I would like to share with you. Because on the market there is so many DSLR cameras, it is not so easy to make a decision. Let's first get an idea what possibilities do we have. There are a couple of brands out there. Canon, Nikon, Sony, Pentax, Olympus, Sigma, Leica, Mamiya, Hasselblad. And of course it doesn't stop there. Some of the brands have quite a lot of camera models. Canon, for example, 13 and Nikon 18 models. Altogether around 50 new DSLR cameras to buy today. Every camera has around 60 different features to compare, plus many lenses and accessories. And that's pretty a lot, right? So what to do now? You can ask a friend who knows the subject. You can check what professional photographers are using. Just make sure it fits your budget. You can watch reviews, but there is so many information and reviews out there, it is really easy to spend huge amount of time just to get overwhelmed. But knowing basics plus some directions will help you avoid overwhelm and get straight to the point. Also, having basic overview will give you an idea if the review's opinions make sense, because unfortunately you can find many misleading concepts out there. Step 1. What type of photography you are most interested in? There are many areas, but we can narrow it down to few which show specific needs. Before that, quick information about some basic camera features. Shutter speed. It says how long the sensor is collecting the light. It is measured in seconds or fractions of a second. Shutter speeds are usually somewhere between 30 seconds up to 1/8000th of a second. Higher shutter speeds helps you freeze the movement. Like on this picture. Lower shutter speeds can make the picture blurry, but sometimes this is what you want to get painterly, unreal look. Like here. ISO, the light sensitivity of camera's sensor. Higher number means higher sensitivity. Practically, the higher ISO, the better camera performance in low light situations. Camera is amplifying the signal during exposure, which has downsides. At high ISO settings, sensor generates more noise. Noise is more visible not only by setting high ISO, but also with long exposure times, couple of seconds or more. Sensor size. 4/3, APS-C, full frame, medium format. With the same resolution, larger sensors have larger pixels. They are more sensitive to light and can produce images with more details. Sensor resolution, number of pixels the sensor has. In connection with sensor size, it gives you an idea how much details it can deliver. Dynamic range. It tells you how much of a difference between lights and shadows the sensor can capture. In other words, how much contrast the scene can have, so the camera can capture details in brightest and the darkest parts of the scene. Frame rate. How many pictures can camera capture in 1 second? Depending on what type of photography you are most interested in, you want to make sure your camera will have specific features. Action sport. Fast-moving objects, quickly changing situations. You want your camera to get the object very fast in focus. Fast autofocus with a lot of autofocus points, fast motor in lenses. Take as many pictures in very short time as possible. Situations is changing rapidly and you want to get the most beautiful moment out of it. High frame rate, 7 up to 14 frames per second. High ISO, so you can freeze the action with very short exposure times, even if light conditions are not the best. Camera body with weather sealing, in case of rain, dust or mud flying all over the place. Lenses with fast motor for fast focusing, as bright as possible. And long lenses. Nature landscape. You want to capture many details and high contrast scenes. You want to be able to capture as much details in shadows, midtones and highlights as possible. High dynamic range. You want even the most tiny detail of the scene to be clearly visible, like grass for example. High resolution, a lot of megapixels plus sharp lenses. For these two above, full frame or even medium format camera would be great. because they usually can record more details than smaller sensors. Good low light performance. Portrait. Working in controlled situation. You choose the place, light, and usually you decide how much time you need. This is why you don't need very sophisticated camera body. You can do a great job with any DSLR camera available. Of course, it doesn't mean there will be no difference. For example, when you invest in a bit more expensive full-frame camera, you will have more smooth tones, you can get very shallow depth of field, for example, eyes sharp and the rest very much out of focus. What can make the biggest difference here are the lenses you use. Somewhere between 80mm and 135mm fast prime lenses, and you are set to go. Events, weddings, concerts, etc. Different weather conditions, low light situations, unexpected moments. Features, very good low light performance, weather sealing, good frame rate, 5 frames per second. It is advisable, if you can afford, to have two cameras with different lenses. One with standard zoom and second with telezoom. This way, you can switch very quickly to capture overall scene and 2 seconds later details. In some cases, you may want to have possibility to shoot in quiet mode, on Philharmonic concerts, for example. Advertising fashion. High sensor resolution, 20-36 megapixels full-frame DSLR, or high-end 40-60 megapixels medium format cameras. Very good color tone reproduction, best sharpest lenses you can get. Note, actually advertising photography is a very broad area of photography. It can include any area of photography, but in general, you can think of meeting the highest image quality standards. Food product photography. High resolution, very good color reproduction, full frame or medium format sensor, low noise, good macro lenses for close-ups, and tilt-shift lenses for better control of the in-focus areas. Video. More and more often we want to shoot video with our DSLRs, and it is good to check video capabilities of our potential camera. These are only suggestions showing a direction, and depending mostly on your budget, you can choose a gear which will give you as much possibilities as you can get. You can start with anything you can afford, to learn and practice. Just start and get some experience. Over time you will see if the camera you have is all you need, or maybe you will experience some limitations and decide to change it. For example, you can start shooting action with simplest DSLR and inexpensive telezoom. At the beginning you may be happy with the results, but with time you may realize that you are losing some of great moments. Autofocus is slowly wandering back and forth, trying to get the subject in focus. Before it's ready, the right moment is gone. Then you will know that you need more autofocus points, especially cross-type, telezoom with faster autofocus motor, and higher frame rate, continuous shooting with more frames per second, to make sure you will get the perfect moment with ease. On the other hand, if you do portraits, you can do a masterpiece even without any autofocus. Low-budget equipment may have more limitations, but still you can take beautiful pictures, only sometimes you may need to be a bit more creative. In the end, it's your skills, efforts and experience that makes the biggest difference. Please keep that in mind. Step 2. Narrow down your choice. Focus on the most important features and ignore the rest. Do yourself a favor. Stop listening to marketing noise. Most of these messages shows new and shiny features, which are like soap in your eyes. It goes more or less like this. This is the best camera in the world with brand new image processor XYZ 7000 Plus Super Turbo, created especially for people like you. Buy now. Ignore it. Why? Because it doesn't say anything, just sounds good. Camera might as well be filled with jelly bears or sand, and it will be fine as long as it will deliver what we want. Make a selection of cameras with features that meet your needs according to the type of photography you like the most. To narrow down the number of your potential cameras even more, simply eliminate those which don't fit your budget. Keep in mind that you may also need to include some lenses. Now, when you have narrowed down the number of cameras, you can do step 3. Take a look at tests and users' reviews. Couple of them, from good sources. Results is all that counts. Especially read reviews with highest ratings and the lowest ones. to see why this particular camera is so good, and also to see what kind of problems users have. You can check photographic forums, good photographic websites, big online shops like Amazon or B&H Photo. They have not only opinions, but also you can see how many people like or agree with those opinions. You may also want to directly physically check the camera, how it feels in your hands and so on. For me, it is not so important because I know that ergonomy and how well the camera is built is similar for all the brands in particular price range. Also, I cannot judge it so much by having a camera for a couple of minutes. Only after getting some experience using the camera, like full day or couple of shooting days, I could say, this works for me and this maybe feels a little bit strange. But still in the end, I would happily get used to almost everything if the camera would offer desired capabilities. Step 4. Check availability of lenses and accessories, range and quality. What lenses do you need according to your type of photography? And are they available for your potential camera? Do they fit in your budget? Some are pretty cheap and some very expensive. Again, look for tests and reviews. Step 5. What camera systems your friends are using? It can be helpful if your friends are using cameras of the same brand. You can borrow lenses, flashes and other accessories. You can also share experiences of using this particular gear. So that would be all for this video. This basic information should help you with choosing a camera more consciously. You can also go to bestdslrcameraforyou.com for specific camera recommendations.